In this daily drop, I'm going to talk about the iPhone and what it means currently for me in terms of creating content in production. So let's go. All right, everyone, here we are, Sunday from Monday. So I'm in the barn and cranking out this episode of the Daily Drop before what is here, Mother's Day, happening. Gonna change hats and become a dad and a husband and all that stuff. But I wanted to talk about this little doodad right now, which is the iPhone. I've been using an iPhone for, well, since the iPhone was released. I remember at the time of its release, I was still doing a lot of contract work in and around Final Cut Studio for Apple. I happened to be at their campus when this was launched and went into San Francisco for the event. We were in a spillover room, and Steve Jobs got up on stage and announced and released that little teeny tiny smartphone. There was some interesting technology at the time, but really everything in my mind was a phone with additional technology attached. When the iPhone was released, it was very apparent that we were moving into a new usage of a device like this, where it became a computer that just happened to have a phone in it. And as they say, the rest is history. And here we are with the iPhone 15. This is the 15 Pro, and it has changed the way I create certain types of content. Now, for a couple of reasons. Yes, the built-in camera app is great. It has cinematic mode. I wish they would open that up to third-party developers, because having that selective focus would be very, very advantageous in an app like the Blackmagic Camera App, which I much prefer, has much more features that I look to use, but is, of course, kind of crippled because of that. So if Apple would open that up, that would be fantastic. Other than that, this, Blackmagic Camera App is pretty incredible. But between those two, and also using something like Instagram to do Instagram Live, I've really found, especially at NAB, that I left everything in my bag. The mirrorless camera, while small, easy to use, the screen flips out, still is a number of steps taking out of the bag a monopod or a small tripod, hooking up audio solutions, so on and so forth. And I have found that even in a loud trade show type environment, that if I'm just trying to crank out an Instagram live video or something like that, this is pretty dang good. And as we all know, that at this point in time, with current smartphones, the quality of picture that you can capture with the built-in cameras is pretty phenomenal. So there's a lot of stuff in here to like. And then if you couple that with some sort of little handheld rig like this one will go landscape or portrait. It will give you a little bit more reach in terms of your front-facing camera, and it's getting really, really good at this point in time. I would say that for 90 to 95% of the content creation when I'm out there, so I'm going to cine gear, this is not just enough, it's really, really good. And it means that mirrorless cameras, digital cinema cameras for me are for client-based productions where I'm setting up 1, 2, 3 cameras. I'm generally thinking about audio and miking talent and stuff like that. But there's no reason at this point in time, from what I've now been doing, for me to use anything other than this if what I'm trying to do is document my setups. I'm at a trade show, I want to talk about a product. Sure, if I'm doing interviews with people and they're in the frame with me, that might be a little bit different, but this is pretty remarkable. The other thing is that when you're using something like the Blackmagic Camera App, When you're recording, you can actually switch between your rear-facing and your front-facing camera. It does a relatively good job of not cutting your audio off. I have found when you are switching between the two that it's probably a good idea not to be verbalizing something during the switch. Whereas if you're using Apple's camera app and you press record, you actually can't flip your cameras. You can with Instagram's app. That actually seems to cut off audio less than even the Blackmagic Camera App. So you have to figure out these little anomalies when you're using these applications for content creation and for capturing video. But there's really nothing to complain about overall. Sure, it could get refined, and I'd like to see cinematic mode in third-party apps. I'd like to see the ability to swap between rear and front-facing and back again to rear-facing cameras with Apple's camera app. But overall, for me, I don't even need to get into setting up third-party microphones if I'm using this device. I'm finding that the audio that I'm capturing on my iPhone is comparable, if not better, than if I'm trying to set up a little omnidirectional mic for content capture. So just some thoughts. I'd love to hear how you're using your smartphone, whether that's Android-based or it's iOS. I think we've hit a point now where with the quality of not only the camera system, but also the apps that are available, this is a viable solution. Obviously, these are being used for much bigger productions, but those are not this. Those are with full crews, lights, grip, electric, everything else, which is totally fine. If the camera can do the job, the camera can do the job. It's amazing how far we've come in, how long's it been? What is it, 15 or 16 years? I can't believe it's been that long. It's crazy sauce what you can do with these things. Love to hear, again, your comments. Don't forget to. And I'll see you on the next episode of The Daily Drop.